Hey, hey, hey. Time for another out of this world story from rSpace. Got my pregnant wife on the sofa with my neighbor. This literally happened this morning. I'm posting it here and hoping to vent and maybe get some perspective because I've been extremely upset all day and can't process this productively. My wife is 8 months pregnant with our child. We live next to another married couple who are in their late 30s. I don't like the guy. I found him to be invasive and the weird type of friendly that almost seems to be prying and clingy. I'm not sure if that's clouding my judgment here or if this validated my beliefs about him. I left for work, decided on the way there I just wasn't feeling it, and called off. I stopped for breakfast before heading home to surprise my wife. 40 minutes tops. I get home, enter from the back door, and here's my wife and my neighbor sitting in our living room on the couch. She's turned towards him fully clothed, but with her shirt pulled up over her very pregnant stomach while he is facing her, rubbing lotion on her stomach with both hands. They both froze before my wife asked how come I was back, and then said his name, stopped by to borrow the toolbox while I was just moisturizing and wanted to know if he could feel the baby, so I said okay. I told him to get out before I put him out, and he left immediately. I tried to stay calm and talk to her and get the whole story. Neighbor's wife is apparently infertile. First I heard of it, which is amazing considering the guy never shuts up about his personal woes, and he wanted to feel the baby. That's her story and she's sticking to it. That's not good enough for me. My thought process is there's a big difference between feeling a baby for 10 seconds and coming into our home and rubbing lotion on my wife's stomach. If it was some close friend of ours, I might understand. But I dislike the guy, and my wife has never expressed any sort of closeness to him either, aside from passing pleasantries. And she's not the type to let anyone she isn't close to put their hands on her. So in the span of a day, the guy goes from being a distant acquaintance of hers at best to her deciding to invite him in and let him rub her. I also find it convenient that he showed up that early, right after I went to work, very shortly after his own wife also left for work. And he's never come over asking to borrow anything of mine before, yet 9:30ish in the morning and he urgently needs a toolbox? I don't believe my wife. This is the first time my trust in her hasn't been strong enough. I don't believe her story because it makes no sense. When I told her I'd be mentioning this to his wife, she was adamant I don't, as not to make more of it than it is. If it was innocent, what more is there to make? And even if nothing more is going on, I'm not okay with what I've seen. I'm not okay with him robbing my unborn child in my home without me there. I know it's her body and her choice, but I'm not okay with this. It'd be one thing to feel the baby kick, but he was sitting reclined comfortably on our sofa, rubbing lotion on her with both leaned into their private conversation. I'm trying really hard to figure out how to express the fact I don't believe her story without causing stress that it'd be dangerous for her or our baby. I don't want to pick a fight with her at this stage of her pregnancy, but at the same time, my mind is spinning and I'm not cool with what happened. Any advice would be appreciated. Update. This will be my only update, and I'm posting it due to the amount of support I've gotten as well as the numerous requests to do so. I didn't expect the response I got and unfortunately seen it referenced on other subreddits, so I'm choosing to confront it. Most of you are right. Congrats. I read through all of your replies and spoke to friends and stood for a day. My wife stuck to her story, apologized for making me uncomfortable, and assured me it wouldn't happen again. Bob decided to leave a handwritten note in the mailbox, specifically apologizing as well. I still didn't feel better, and the consensus was that I should speak to my neighbor's wife, who we were going to call Sally, so that's what I did. Watched my neighbor leave for work, then called my mother-in-law to come take my wife for a lunch and a girls' date so she could get out of the house. I left as usual for work, called off again, and went to stay with a friend. I got a text from my wife around noon telling me she was with mother-in-law and would be back by dinner. Went home and knocked on Sally's door. Bob decided to tell Sally I kicked him out and caused a scene about not wanting either of them speaking to us anymore because I was pissed about him helping my wife. Come to find out, both Sally and Bob have been going over to my house while I was away busy for the past few weeks, and as my wife had approached her and asked if they would be willing to lend a hand with chores she could no longer do alone. Sometimes Sally went over and did small tasks or just hung out, sometimes both, sometimes just Bob. Wife told her I knew and was fine with it, and that's why she was confused when her husband told her his bullcrap about me being mad. She showed me where she texted my wife, has her number, not mine, to clarify, and asked if she was welcome over, and my wife hasn't replied, and since I don't often see Sally or socialize with them, she just assumed her husband was telling the truth. She also admitted that she noticed Bob and my wife becoming fast friends and figured it was due to the pregnancy. but thought it was his way of dealing with their own inability to have kids, so she wrote it off. I told her what I walked in on. I told her about the tools, which ended up being bullcrap too. Came to the same conclusions. Both cried, both hugged for the first time. Both took turns denying and accepting and talking each other down. Took a walk around the block together and conspired. She planned to call Bob at work and say that my wife messaged her confessing to the two of them having an affair and seeing what happened. Went back to my friends. Started having major panic attacks thinking, I screwed up. I was about to ruin my marriage worrying I might be wrong. Bit later, I get a call from my wife screaming at me to find a way to leave work and come home. So I go home. Bob called her telling her what Sally told him. She told me I was crazy, I was a piece of crap, that she was considering leaving me. Everything. Having a panic attack thinking I just ruined my entire life over nothing while also trying to calm her down for the baby's sake. Impulsively told her that if she was leaving, I'd still be requesting a DNA test. And that's when it all came down. Entire tone changed. Pleading, begging, apologizing, hyperventilating, holding me, asking me how I found out while denying anything happened. I told her it'd be okay and asked if she talked to me if we went for a drive. She agreed. Took us to a parking lot and we talked. Told her if there was any chance of anything happening, she needed to tell me what was happening because I already knew a lot. She ducked Bob a handful of times before she was pregnant. Our baby might not be ours. Bob has been coming by and doing daddy duties once in a blue moon in case it's his. They didn't do it together in months. She said we could move away, that it's ours no matter what, that he had manipulated her. Admitted she lied to Sally to justify Bob going over for daddy duties. I asked her if she'd stay with mother-in-law for a few days while I calmed down. She agreed, took her home, packed up some stuff, and dropped her off. I've cleaned out my essentials, and I'm at a friend's basement. Friend called her on my behalf and told her that if the baby is mine, I'll be dealing with it. If it isn't, it's on her. But either way, I'll be filing for divorce. My friends took my phone from me and deleted my social media. She's been calling my friends' friends. Told her to duck off. I spoke to my boss and he's been very understanding. Last I heard from Sally, Bob hadn't been home and stopped responding to her calls and texts. I have nothing left. In less than a week, my life has fallen apart. The only thing keeping me here is the small chance the baby is mine. I have nothing else. I woke up today disappointed I woke up at all. I've never felt this alone and I haven't accepted any of it yet. I'm praying for the first time in my life that I can stop feeling this way and find strength. Final update. Don't know if anyone will remember my original posts as they were deleted and I have yet to be informed on why even after messaging the mod team. Don't know if this will be deleted either. I'm still getting messages on a regular basis for an update, so this is the final one. Extremely long story made slightly less long a week after my last update. My soon-to-be ex-wife had our child, which I was at the hospital for. I'm the father. The first few weeks after my last update were extremely difficult, with family, friends on both sides adding to the drama. Thankfully, I've had an overwhelming amount of support from not only the vast majority of people I know in my personal life, but from all of you as well. My wife and I agreed to sit down and discuss things after she was discharged in my friend's basement, with my friend upstairs in case I needed the support. She came over and we basically said everything we needed to say. I exploded and said a lot of mean crap, most of which I regret. Some I don't. She spent the whole time apologizing and begging me to take her back and give our family a chance to survive everything that happened. Went on for about an hour like this until I accepted that there was nothing left to say and I have zero romantic love for her anymore, and she accepted that we need to focus on our daughter above all else. We are agreeing to figure out a custody split amicably and to eventually co-parent more actively together when wounds heal, but our marriage is over. She has the potential to be a wonderful mother, but she failed me as a wife, and my sole focus right now is how to get myself mentally to where I need to be the best father possible. We plan to eventually sell the home, but right now I'm staying in an apartment. Sally is leaving Bob. He's apparently staying with his mother and still refused to speak to Sally directly. According to her, the last thing that was passed along to her is that he understands what he did. He's sorry he hurt her, he loves her, and won't contest a divorce. She's struggling to handle everything and lacks a support system, so we're developing a friendship, mostly two-winded people leaning on each other, and I'm doing my best. She plans to start therapy too, and no, I don't plan to be anything more than platonic friends with Sally. Lovely woman, but no, I still haven't fully processed my new role as a parent. I think mentally, I already convinced myself my child wouldn't be mine in case it ended up that way. I plan to take classes and spend more time with my daughter doing early bonding. I'm terrified, but very happy. I know there's a lot left to do and a lot of hurting left to go through, but I'm stable and a dad. That's what matters most. On to the next story. He cheated with the same woman again. I'm new to posting, so please pardon my lack of abbreviation knowledge on this subpage. My husband and I have been married for 24 years. We have 3 daughters, 1 in college and 2 at home. He had an affair with a coworker friend in 2016. She and her husband were friends of ours, and they have children similar to our girl's age. We were close and even vacationed together during the time they were fooling around. It started as an emotional affair, but they ended up making out behind grocery stores and in parking lots. He and she swore that they did not have sex. I found out about his infidelity, and we separated. Her husband made her quit her secretarial job there, and I was hopeful it would be the last we saw of her. My husband and I went to counseling, and I decided to give him another chance. It was a difficult time because trust was gone and our daughters were obviously affected by his absence. 5 years passed, and with counseling and guidance on better communication, my trust was not fully repaired, but getting better. He reassured me that she was no longer a blip on his radar. Come December 21st, 2021. He left early to work. He is up at 5 a.m. to work out daily, kissed me goodbye, and told me that he loved me. After he kissed me, I couldn't fall back asleep. I thought I'd meet him at the gym, at his work, to work out. I got dressed and realized he may be running in a nearby neighborhood by his work, as some days out of the week he does this. I wanted to make sure he was not out running because he's the only one with a key and I didn't want to be locked out. I look on, find my iPhone, and he is at a CVS on the street she lives on. As I exit the garage and haul ass to his office, 5 minutes away, I call him and ask him where he's at. He said a McDonald's, which was on the road I was on, and the McDonald's was in my view. I told him I saw him at CVS, on her street, and yelled, "Where the F were you?" He admitted he met her, and they were just talking. She kicked her husband out, and she emailed my husband that she missed him, my husband, and he responded to her that he missed her too. They had been corresponding through his work email since November. I kicked my husband out again. The pain was tremendous and worse than the death of my father. My girl's Christmas and New Year's were completely ruined. Although I put on a brave face, our pain was palpable. I was in bed for days. My girls had to pick me up, put me in the shower with my pajamas on. They too were in their PJs and cried with me in there. My husband knew the pain we were in, and we were separated for 2 months. During this time, he begged me to go out with him, told me he was no longer communicating with her. I reluctantly agreed to go to church and participate in a marital program he suggested. He asked to please come home and work on our marriage. He swore they just met that once to talk, and it was over. I wanted to save my marriage, my family. I agree again to bestow grace in the hopes of saving our marriage. A few weeks passed and we were working on us, going to the re-engage group at church and trying to piece back where we went wrong. Things appeared hopeful, until last week. My daughter's birthday is this coming weekend, and we were booking a party. My husband had his cell phone and I asked if I could look at another venue. I did, and was entering his email address when her email address popped up. I was curious why her email would be fresh on his email, so I told him I was going to look. He asked for his phone back and I went in my room, locked the door, and found several emails. Turns out, during our 2-month separation, when he said there was no communication since I caught him and her in December, was a complete effing lie. They were meeting face to face. One email said, "I have to go to church with me, but I want to see you later." He denied anything happened again, but said they did meet up. I cried and begged for the truth because I couldn't take any more of his torment. I and his girls had suffered so much already, pleaded for the truth, and he finally came clean and said they slept together during our separation. He claimed it was only one time. He swore it was only once, until I decided to ask her via email how many times they slept together. Her response? 2. I confront my husband and he said she was lying. After realizing he was on a sinking ship, he just gave up and said 3 times actually. They were screwing in his truck, her car, and at her mom's house. I finally get the truth. I kicked him out, called her husband to let him know about his wife and my husband's affair. I told my husband that I was done and would file after mediation. He's asking me to give him time so he can show me that he is a changed man. He said the man who did that is not him anymore. He said he loves me and took me for granted. He knows he can now be the husband I deserve. He is willing to do a post-nuptial agreement that if he talks to her or any other affair happens, I could have 100% of our assets. He is tearful and now asking me to give him another chance. I know my worth. I deserve better. But 24 years is a long time. I know marriages have and can survive infidelity. Does he deserve it? I have a mediator on speed dial. What say you, Reddit friend? Quoting one of my favorite songs by The Clash. Should I stay or should I go? Our first response comes from Rivers11. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. He has shown you multiple times that he is not trustworthy and in fact a cheating liar. You have given him the gift of multiple chances to prove himself to you, and he chose to go back and screw that woman. He put his own selfish desires above you, your children, your marriage, your family, your 24 years together. Can you ever trust this betrayer again? Friend, I know the pain of betrayal. It hurts like a mofo. But wasting another minute of your life with this proven, unrepentant, lying, abusive cheater will just bring you back here again with even more heartache. You deserve better. You are worthy of a life of peace and respect and void of infidelity. Hit that mediator's number ASAP and get the ball rolling towards your new life without him. Our next response is from Franny Del Rey. Would you allow a man to do this to your own 2 daughters? Would you want to see your daughters go through this pain of being betrayed and lied to? Not once, but twice? 5 years or 24 years? It doesn't matter. He won't leave her alone, and by staying, you're letting him know that cheating is not a deal breaker. The OP responds, absolutely not. I would hate it if someone did this to my daughters. He would too, sadly. Next thought from KS Mimi. One time, maybe. A close, also married family friend? No, I don't think I could. You gave the grace of attempting reconciliation. He did it again a second time? No, never. Now a third time with the same woman? And you're thinking about it? Why? OP, please go visit a proper therapist with experience in betrayal and trauma. You deserve so much better than this. He obviously has deep feelings for this woman. He probably loves her, and I know I couldn't live with the thought of being his second choice. He's damaged you and the family enough, I think. Time for some chump lady. Leave a cheater, gain a life. If you can't buy it, check it out from your local library. She'll give you the backbone you never knew you had. Good luck. Our last response from Terser78. Please, 3 chances? Why in the hell would you give him a 4th? Don't your daughters deserve a better example? He sure as hell will never quit with her. Please, show your children a strong example of what a partner should do and cut it off. They need you to set some appropriate boundaries in their lives and be the reliable parent they need. Our last response comes from OP. Yes, they do. You are spot on. My oldest, 21 years old, was not fazed by his second or third indiscretions. She expected it, sadly. Open my eyes to what they see.